What's up, YouTube? It is that time again this year where we get to dive into the great new cards from a set coming out in just about a week and a day by the time this video goes live. And this time we're looking at Astral Radiance. Before I begin, I want to say that the top 10 cards in this list are probably not uh, the top 10 cards that a collector might have on their top 10 list, because I am looking at this as a player. If you're a collector looking at this, you're probably going to have a bit of a different list than I did. But I think a lot of players will be in agreement with a good chunk of these cards, because there are some really great playable cards in this set. But there is also no shortage of great artwork in this set. And not just in the trainer gallery. I'm going to look at a couple of cards here in a little bit that are from the trainer gallery and a couple of cards that are not. That said, let's go ahead and jump right into the artwork. Start with the good stuff, why don't we? So, Zacian V and Starmie V both have absolutely gorgeous artwork in this set. So, Zacian V's artwork features Hop, and Starmie's art features Misty. They're both fairly important characters in not just the trading card game, but in the whole franchise. Misty, in particular, obviously is quite iconic. I mean, she's been there since the beginning. And then Starmie, in particular, this is a really great playable card too. So just seeing this absolutely stunning artwork, I'm very much looking forward to pulling it because I would like to play it. it's I'm very enthusiastic about the artwork that this set has, and these two are just great representations of it. So for a more normal, beautiful card, this is a Magnemite. This is really zoomed in. Sorry, it's a little grainy, but this is Magnemite by Arita, I believe. Arita. I'm probably butchering the name, but he's been a long time artist for the trading card game, and he's contributed tons and tons of wonderful artwork, and he never fails to impress. This artwork is great, and Magnemite and Magneton are among my favorite Pokemon, so seeing this is just great. In fact, I'm only focusing on Magnemite in this particular video today, but the Magneton and the Magnezone both have great artwork as well. And then for a kind of a new artist coming out in this set, and also had a couple of cards in Brilliant Stars. I believe it's a Magmar and a Sock. But this is an artist I'm going to start collecting. So this is Shinji. I don't remember their other name. Shinji. They're brand new artists. I think they have like 5 or 6 cards total. I love their very vibrant, kind of line heavy style that they're using, and it just makes this Bronzong really pop. If you remember the Magmar from Brilliant Stars, it's the same artist, and the lines are just I love it. I love the variety that we're starting to see in the artwork for the trading card game, and I really wish that some of the artwork that we're seeing for the regular cards, like this Bronzong and like the Magnemite, could carry over to the ultra rares. A lot of the ultra rare artwork, especially the V's, not just the V stars are doing okay right now, but the V's especially, a very good chunk of them, most of them illustrated by Planeta or 5-ban, obviously, are very bland and very boring. They're very bland, they're very boring, they're very 3D cut, copy, paste level of artwork. And that's very disappointing because I know 5-ban is capable of more. I know Planeta is capable of more. Planeta still puts out good stuff here and there. 5-ban still puts out good stuff here and there. But it's not the norm, and it's really frustrating too because you see this new artwork for this deck, you know you're going to be playing for forever, and it's 5-ban again. It's more 5-ban artwork, and it could be this, right? Yeah, can you imagine pulling a Bronzong V and this is the artwork on the card that you see instead of just that boring drab, again, cut, copy, paste 3D artwork. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the meat of the core list, starting with honorable mentions. Like with Brilliant Stars, there are quite a few honorable mentions. There are a lot of really good cards in this set, and I think it's good to highlight some of the ones that didn't quite make the list. So with that said, honorable mentions. Starting with Jubilife Village. Jubilife Village says, once during each player's turn, that player may shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 5 cards. If they do, that player's turn ends. So this is similar to a card in the expanded format, Tropical Beach, which is basically a stadium version of Snorlax and Vivid Volch's effect. It says draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. If you do, your turn ends. This is kind of a soft, gentler reprint of that. Allows for some options, especially for decks that are a little slower at setting up. Maybe decks that are not quite so intent on going super turbo but need to keep drawing cards to keep themselves alive. Jubilife is an option. Hisuian Heavy Ball. Look at your face down prize cards. You may reveal a basic Pokemon you find there, put it into your hand, and put this Hisuian Heavy Ball in its place as a face down prize card. If you don't reveal a basic Pokemon, put this card in the discard pile. Then shuffle your face down prize cards. So this is a great way to search out the one-ofs in your deck, or critical Pokemon that you might need for your setup. So for example, if you're planning to run Beedrill V, Hisuian Heavy Ball might be very important, because you max out at 200 damage, and if you prize one of your Beedrills, you're going to get your hamstrung, right? You're at 150 instead. Similarly, Durant, if you're going to try to play Durant. You can't mill as much if one of your Durants are prized. Hisuian Heavy Ball allows you to find that Durant, get it out and play, and make it so that you're milling as much as possible. This can also be used to find your one of whatever Radiant Pokemon you might be running. That's probably going to be Radiant Greninja or Radiant Hawlucha. But either way, you can only run one in your deck. So this allows you to go find that Pokemon and bring it out and start playing with it. So Hisuian Heavy Ball is a pretty dang good card. And it didn't make the list. Gutsy Pickaxe. So reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a fighting energy, attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. If it is not a fighting energy, put it in your hand. So this is kind of like Judge Whistle in the fact that you're drawing a card, but it's also not like Judge Whistle in the fact that you're able to attach it if it's fighting energy. So any deck can run this and get some extra draw out of it. But if you're running fighting energy, it's just that much better. It's a little bit of potential acceleration. Chances are, with the amount of energy that a lot of decks run, you probably aren't going to hit it most of the time unless you're setting it up specifically with a Rangaroo or something. But just the sheer chance that you could get an extra energy attachment and you're drawing a card is pretty great, because you're having that effective 56 card deck with the bonus of a little bit of acceleration. Great card, definitely keep an eye on it. It will see play. Grant. This is just a fascinating card. I love that they've come out with this pretty fresh take on a supporter effect. So there are 2 different effects for this card. One is the effect that you get when you play the card from your hand as your supporter for the turn, and the other is an effect that you can use when it's in your discard pile. So the first effect says, during this turn, your fighting Pokemon attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance. So kind of like Leon, it's just a plus 30 for all your fighting Pokemon, right? Instant more damage. Good thing. Now, here's where it gets interesting. During your turn, if this Grant is in your discard pile, you may discard 2 cards, except any Grant, from your hand. If you do, put this Grant into your hand. This effect does not use up your supporter card for the turn. So, basically, let's say you need that plus 30 once to take down a Mew VMAX, right? You get that plus 30, you knock out the Mew VMAX. The next turn, in order to win, you do need to hit that plus 30 again. Well, good on you for running Grant, because Grant allows you to just discard 2 other cards from your hand, and you get that right back and immediately can take that knockout again, because screw Mew. So, perfect. Now, it's also interesting to note that you don't necessarily have to benefit from that effect to make use of that secondary effect. So let's say, for example, you're playing Mad Party. Maybe a one of Grant is something you should consider, because this is an effect that you could use. So, play Grant, or not play Grant, but discard Grant with like a Quick Ball or an Ultra Ball, and then use the effect of Grant from your discard pile to discard 2 of your Mad Partiers from your hand and send them to your discard pile. So they're in there doing, or adding up the damage, adding damage rather to your total for Mad Party. The same could be said of Wormadam with its attack, the plus 10. It's just that little extra. And now, on top of all of that, you can actually thin your hand by 1 card, even for something like a Crobat, right? So you would play the you'd play the Grant, not play the Grant. You'd activate the Grant from your discard pile. That's a little bit of a confusing wording. Activate the Grant from your discard pile. Discard 2 cards. Put the Grant in your hand. You've cleared 1 card down, so that you could draw one extra card off of Crobat. It's a very interesting supporter, and I expect it's going to be used in very interesting ways. I can't wait to see what's done with it. It's just such a cool card. Radiant Halucha, I should say Radiant Halucha, sorry about that. Radiant Halucha has an ability called Big Match. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon VMAX before applying weakness and resistance, and then Spiral Kick for 50. You're not attacking this guy unless you're desperate, or unless you have very lucky with the Gutsy Pickaxe. Don't need a lot of damage. But Big Match is why you would run this guy. If your deck finds itself in need of a plus 30 pretty much all the time against Pokemon VMAX, whether that's against Mew VMAX or Eternatus VMAX or whatever it is, this guy's your guy. He gives you that plus 30. Make sure you hit those numbers consistently. And yeah, he's the option. VMAX Pokemon aren't as popular as they once were, rather. So remains to be seen whether or not Halucha will continue to see, or will see a ton of play right out of the gate. But there's always the possibility of a few more Pokemon coming back that are Pokemon VMAX. Something like Eternatus could make a comeback. You know, what is dead may never die. It's like Pikarom, right? Comes back when it wants to. And then it proves it's dead again or isn't dead and does whatever it needs to. Mew VMAX is, of course, very strong right now. Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is quite strong. So there are possibilities where this could be good, but it is very situational, and you do have to weigh it against playing something like Radiant Greninja. So the final one of our honorable mentions now is Diancie, and this is last is very much not least. This almost made the top 10, but didn't quite get there. It has an amazing ability called Princess's Curtain. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your benched basic Pokemon. Now you're thinking, well, what good does this do? They're just going to knock out the Diancie. Yeah, they are. That's exactly what you want. So this is a great card for stalling, right? Diancie's only worth one prize card. So if you have Diancie in the active spot, you have whatever you need on your bench and you're building it up. So that could be Darkrai VSTAR, or well, Darkrai V. Don't evolve it or you'll gust it. Darkrai V, Dialga V, you can be pooling energy cards, getting them ready, getting them put out to the active spot so they can actually do what they're meant to do before they get gusted and shut down. With that said, though, do be aware that Escape Rope does still exist. So if you're going to be stalling behind Diancie, and you think your opponent might be playing an Escape Rope or might have one in their deck, you're going to want to have a second Diancie out so that you can switch into it when they do Escape Rope you. But this is an option for somebody who needs to stall, an option for decks that need to stall, rather. It's only worth one prize card, so it can also give you a little bit of a chance to flip-flop the prize trade, potentially. Or to make it more difficult, maybe they have to take 7 prize cards in total instead of just 6. Or maybe even a little bit more than that, depending on how you play your cards. But it's a very interesting card. We'll see how much play it sees. I think it is going to see quite a bit of play. I know this is a card I have my eye on for Hisuian VSTAR in Lost Origin, which will be our August set. So keep your eye on this card. Do expect it to see play. But with that said, let's move on to the actual top 10 itself. So at number 10, Temple of Sinnoh. All special energy attached to your Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, provide colorless energy, a single colorless energy that is, and have no other effect. So think of some of the special energy that are really important right now. The two biggest are, of course, Double Turbo Energy and Fusion Strike Energy. Double Turbo Energy would normally provide 2 colorless energy and reduce the damage of the attacking Pokemon with it attached by 20. However, Temple of Sinnoh says, okay, not only does it not reduce your damage, it only provides 1 colorless energy now. So this means that it may make it more difficult for Arceus to power itself up for its Trinity Nova or Trinity Charge attacks. This could mean shutting down Mad Party completely if they don't run a counter stadium. It's pretty rough, right? But also important to note is it shuts off Fusion Strike energy. Now, Meloetta, to be aware, checks for Fusion Strike energy attached. So it's not going to suddenly make Meloetta do no damage, and it's not going to make Mew do no damage if it copies Meloetta. But what it will do is shut off the protecting effect that Fusion Strike energy has when it's checking for whether or not abilities can affect a Fusion Strike Pokemon with an energy attached to it. So if you have a Fusion Strike, if your opponent rather has a Fusion Strike energy attached to their Meloetta, you wouldn't be able to ping it with something like a Quick Shooting from Inteleon. However, if you have a Temple of Sinnoh in play, not only is that special energy, that Fusion Strike energy, only providing a single colorless energy instead of the rainbow that it would normally provide, suddenly it's not protecting them whatsoever from those pings. So it's going to get hit. The same is true not just of Quick Shooting, but also of Headbutt Tantrum on Galarian Zigzagoon from Sword and Shield base set. So suddenly that ping goes through. So this effect could be extremely important for decks that are really reliant on ensuring that their opponents are going to get hit in some way, shape, or form, right? Maybe this is true. Maybe your opponent plays a Fusion Strike energy down on their Genesect V because they want to make sure that you can't just gust it up and stall. Oh, Temple of Sinnoh shuts it off. Now they're forced to attach another energy to retreat or find a switch card, right? Just those little things that when I say gust, I mean gust with Umbreon VMAX, right? Because that's an ability. This is just a very interesting card, and I'm very I don't think it's been explored as much as it will be, because it's going to impact special energy decks in a way that I don't think we quite understand just yet. But what it can do to Arceus and what it could, theoretically at least, do to Mew, could really be worth exploring. I'm happy to see the card. At number 9, Starmie V. So for 2 colorless energy, it has Swift. Swift, it says 50 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it just goes through whatever all the time. Doesn't matter. It will hit 50 damage. But that is not the reason you're playing Starmie V. There are 2 reasons you're playing Starmie V. One is the fact that it has no retreat cost, right? It has a retreat cost of 0, which means it will retreat for free. It is your pivot Pokemon if you need to do something on the bench or make sure that something's preserved. Starmie's your guy. But that energy spiral attack is brutal. I don't know if you guys have all seen my testing videos with my locals, but in one of our videos, one of my opponents was playing a variant of Dark Arceus and wasn't quite as familiar with Starmie V as maybe he should have been, and was just frolicking in the wonderful acceleration that Arceus VSTAR provides, and had quite a lot of energy on board. And I was able to get Starmie V powered up and into the active spot and just completely one-shot his Arceus VSTAR because there was so much energy in play. I think I did like 450 damage. It hurts. And if you're not aware of the fact that Starmie V is a threat, it can come out really fast and punish you for over-attaching pretty brutally. Now keep in mind, this is water. So this means any Arceus variant that's running Melanie can have this powered up in a single turn. Attach Melanie, done. If you're running this in Origin Forme Palkia VSTAR, which I highly recommend you do, you can use your VSTAR ability to attach, switch to the active spot, knock whatever out in front of you. The effect is really, really strong, and Energy Spiral is probably one of my favorite attacks on any Pokemon from this set. I thought the card would be good before we started testing it. After I started testing it, it's very sad I fell in love. Card's great. I look forward to playing with the Starmie, and I look forward to hopefully playing with the alternate art with Misty on it. At number 8, Hisuian Samurott VSTAR. Merciless Blade for double darkness, 110 plus damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters, that's counters. Wow, I have lots of typos in this one today. On it, this attack does 110 more damage. It has a VSTAR power Ability, Cleave Star. During your turn, you may put 4 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. You can't use more than one VSTAR power in a game. So, if your opponent's active Pokemon has any damage counters on it whatsoever, instantly does 110 more damage. So that's 220, basically right out of the gate. Now, keep in mind, and we're going to see in a little bit, don't don't you worry. Dark Patch is being reprinted in this set, so we will have Dark Patch, which means you can power up Samurott in a single turn very, very easily, right? So easy 220 damage, and there are ways to get damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon, right? Or any of their Pokemon, and then make it the active, right? So you have, like as I mentioned earlier, Headbutt Tantrum, Quick Shooting. You have Gape Jaw Bog, which didn't actually make even the honorable mentions in this particular list, but you know what? It's also a good option, right? There are a lot of different ways you can get damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, and then you hit them in as hard as you can with Merciless Blade, ideally 220. And if you can't quite make it with maybe a Choice Belt or something, and the damage counters are already on there, you can add a couple more with Cleave Star. Hisuian Samurott VSTAR is very strong, and it's going to be good. It's a great archetype. A little bit less straightforward to play than maybe some of the more recent archetypes have been, but it is an extremely good card. I think it has a better shot at dealing with Mew than Darkrai does, which is why it's at number 8, and is on my top 10 list. And I think some of the other content creators have also expressed that opinion. Maybe we'll be proven wrong, and Darkrai will prove itself to be better in the long run. But from my early testing, Samurott has done pretty well, and Darkrai has just done okay. But yeah, this is a great card. It's very interesting. This is the deck I've enjoyed playing. It's one of the decks I'm considering for NAIC, and yeah, it's a good card. At number 7, Roxanne. You can only play this card if your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck. Then you draw 6 cards, and your opponent draws 2 cards. So this is a pseudo reprint of Ace Trainer. It's a nice way to disrupt your opponent toward the end of the game. If you have a Luminion, you can easily search this out. If you're running the Inteleon engine, you can easily search this out. And you can hit them with Roxanne, hit them with Path of Peak, and then cross your fingers. It's like a more effective Marnie, Path and Prey effect, right? To try to get yourself back into the game, make it so they can't just out-tempo you, because you can punish them with a Roxanne. It's good to see this card. I'm glad to see it reprinted. I'm not sure every deck will run it at the moment, and maybe that's for the best. A lot of decks aren't going to run it simply because they don't have room for it. And when I say they don't have room for it, they're not forcing room out of their space for it, because you do have to force your deck to fit this. And the reason for that is the fact that this is a dead card for half the game, right? Your opponent's going to have more than 3 prize cards for more than half the game. So that whole chunk of that time, this is not drawing you cards. It's not disrupting your opponent. It's literally just sitting in your hand and waiting to be used. Now, if we get something like a Versus Seeker reprint, or if maybe Eldegoss V starts to see a bit more play, or Luminion starts creeping into more decks, Roxanne's going to get a lot better, and we'll definitely be seeing more play. But as decks are built right now, and based on what I've seen so far, Roxanne's going to be in maybe half the decks as a 1-of. 2-of is probably too greedy. The card is good, and it's definitely super punishing if people get too greedy with their prize cards. You will see play. The next card is at number 6, Trekking Shoes. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put that card into your hand. If you don't, discard that card and draw a card. So this is sort of like Acrobike, in that you're seeing 2 cards, or up to 2 cards in this case, and you put one of them into your hand. This card is extremely good in any deck that needs to discard stuff. So if you're playing something like Darkrai, you play Trekking Shoes, you see that there's the top card of your deck is a Darkness Energy, go ahead and discard it, see the next card by drawing it, and it's a Dark Patch, because this is a perfect world. You play that Dark Patch, immediately attach that energy, and now Darkrai is even scarier. Effects like this are always good. They don't, again, go in every deck, but this is one of those things that The decks that want it will absolutely play it because its effect is so good, and look forward to seeing this card in many decks. I know several of the decks that I have been playing recently in my 3-4-5 format, and even in upcoming standard formats, will be playing this card because it is that good. That little bit of extra dodge doesn't seem like a lot, but it does matter a lot when you need it. At number 5, Gardenia's Vigor. Draw 2 cards. If you drew any cards in this way, attach up to 2 grass energy cards from your hand, one of your benched Pokemon. Yes, benched Pokemon, but not benched grass Pokemon. So that's actually a very important distinction. So you can attach to whichever Pokemon, doesn't have to be V, doesn't have to be non-V, any benched Pokemon. Another thing that's really important, people are comparing us to Welder, and that's a fair comparison. But again, it does have to be a bench Pokemon. But the biggest deal that Gardenia's Vigor provides that is different from Welder is Welder says if you attach an energy, draw 3 cards. Gardenia's allows you to draw 2 and then attach. So if you do not already have a grass energy in your hand when you play Gardenia's Vigor, you have 1, 2 chances at getting another energy and attaching that energy with Gardenia's Vigor. So it's not a dead card if you don't have a grass energy in your hand, and it's able to attach to one of your bench Pokemon, which means you can switch out and immediately start attacking if you have the other energy, or if it's a 1 energy attack. It's a great card. Like Welder, I expect to see quite a lot of play. Expected to see play in stuff like Hisuian Lilligant if that actually becomes a decent deck. Something like Zarude maybe we'll be seeing play as a quad deck, as a niche deck, obviously not as a super competitive deck. And also expect to maybe see this in some variants of Arceus, especially with Temple of Sinnoh coming out, and with a lot of the special energy hate from Whimsicott and from even just fan of Waves, Temple of Sinnoh. Decks may try to find a way to still power up Arceus without relying on double turbo energy, and Gardenia's Vigor may be the choice that they go with, right? Because they can attach 2 grass energies and still get Arceus powered up and still power up the rest of their attackers. Gardenia's Vigor turns into a really good option for that. Number 4, Dark Patch. You knew it was coming. It's an extremely good card. All of the patch cards in the past, whether that be Metal Saucer or Aqua Patch or Dark Patch in the past, have been very good. They've been very playable. Dark Patch is no exception. It has 2 great candidates for playing with it. It does have Darkrai, and it also has Hisuian Samurott. And it has any number of other decks that it could go in right now. There could be, for example, a quad Galarian Moltres deck that relies on this. Or maybe just Moltres, right? Even Arceus variants could play this if they're playing the Moltres or other dark type attackers like Hoopa. As long as they're running enough darkness energy to make it worth playing Dark Patch is an option. Expect this to see play too. It's a good card. At number 3, Irida. Search your deck for a water Pokemon and an item card. Reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now, I can almost certainly hear people screaming, why is Irida number 3? Everything else was so much better than Irida. This is one of those cards that seems meh on paper, and then you play with it, and it's not. I was pretty meh about Irida at the start. Thought, okay, well, I mean, Corinna's was decent, but that was a different format. It doesn't matter anymore. No, Irida is amazing. Whether you're running the Inteleon engine or not, whether you're running Luminion or not, Irida is phenomenal. The deck I've played it most in is Origin Forme Palkia VSTAR, and its effect basically means search for Radiant Greninja, put it into your hand, and get a Capacious Bucket for 2 energy, and just start going ham with the discard and attachments and Melanies, and it basically is your get everything you need for this turn and next, and be ready to go. It's a phenomenal card. People are going to underrate it until they've played with it. I love this card, and I hope I am able to pull a full art for it, because, again, the full art's gorgeous, but this card effect is just so freaking strong. It really is much stronger than it looks on paper. At number 2, yes, number 2, not number 1, Origin Forme Palkia VSTAR. Subspace Swell for 2 water energy. 60 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon, 20 more damage for each benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponents. So this is Suicune V, right? But this is Suicune V with 40 more damage as a base, and with a whole heck of a lot more HP. You don't need the Cape of Toughness anymore, but you can't make use of Ludicolo, but that's okay, because this is just so much easier to deal with because you have that extra boost of damage, right? And then, to make things even sweeter, VSTAR Power Star Portal says, during your turn, you may attach up to 3 water energy cards from your discard pile to your water Pokemon in any way you like. It's more than 1 VSTAR Power in a game. So this is instantly power up a backup Origin Forme Palkia VSTAR. Maybe you know that your VSTAR is going down this turn. You want to get another one ready to go for next. Instantly powered up. Maybe you've decided that you need to retreat this Palkia because it's damaged, and you would like to maybe power up a Starmie V on the bench that would be able to take a knockout. You can use that to retreat the Starmie up, put 1 more energy on the Starmie, and just nuke whatever's in front of you. That ability is so stupid strong. It's great. This card is super fantastic. Expect this card not only to see play, but to do extraordinarily well. I expect this will start popping in and smacking both Mew and Arceus around, because Mew loves to overbench. So this is going to be a phenomenal card to go against Mew. And finally, at number 1, and this card before I reveal it, it's the numbers on these cards have flowed all over the place in the last month or so while I've been working on this particular video. And this card at one point was at like number 6 and number 5. And after thinking about it and testing with it, I don't think there's any other place for it but number 1. And that card is Radiant Greninja. This card is absolutely stupid. And I mean that in the best way possible. It is so insanely strong. Its ability, Concealed Cards, is only part of that, but it is a big part of it. Concealed Cards says you must discard an energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. Could you ask for a better effect? Discard an energy card. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Discard an energy card and Dark Patch. Discard an energy card, Melanie. What's not to like? It's fantastic. You get 2 extra cards. And what's crazy, too, is this isn't the Pokemon V. This isn't the Pokemon GX, which means you can use Scoop Up Net on it. So, Concealed Cards. Play the Scoop Up Net. Scoop the Radiant Greninja up. Put the Radiant Greninja back down. Play Concealed Cards again, because now it's suddenly a different Greninja. Of course, it's the same one, but, you know, game-wise, it's not. So, play the Concealed Cards basically twice in a turn. Draw 4 cards. Get 2 energy in your discard pile. Power up Palkia's VSTAR ability pretty easily. Get this powered up with that VSTAR ability, and attack with Moonlight Shuriken, which says discard 2 energy card from this Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance for bench Pokemon. This is a double snipe for 90 and 90. I mean, if they're not running Manaphy, they're just asking to start crying because this card's going to come for them. It's just so good. Concealed Cards. Again, this is one of those cards where if you're looking at it on paper, it seems good enough. Right? Like Irida is very, very good, but on paper it looks meh. On paper, this looks good, but not amazing. But once you've actually played with it and actually gotten some time with it, it's really quite hard to undersell this card. Really hard to oversell this card because of how strong it is. And I think every Radiant Pokemon that comes out from here on out is going to be compared to Radiant Greninja specifically, because it is without question not just the best Radiant Pokemon in the set, but the best card in Astral Radiance. With that, guys, that's been my top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to visit the highlights for Astral Radiance on justinbasil.com at the link in the description. If you've liked what you've seen, liked what you've been hearing, please do leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, thank you for watching.